Hiyo gamers, and welcome to a chill theory style video, where I will be reworking Geo, but in not the way that you may think. I've done a video like this before already, reworking Crystallize, and I like a lot of those ideas, but we're just gonna take this video into account where those reworked Crystallize things do not happen. So, my main theory to rework for Geo is Geo Constructs. Geo Constructs are a forgotten mechanic that boggles my mind as to why they were forgotten, because they are so funny and interesting, and Zhongli, the Geo Archon, has a special resonance effect for it, causing the Geo Constructs to pulsate, and there's a maximum of 3 of them on the field at once. But all they did was interact with Zhongli and had different effects on their own as abilities, but they weren't as useful at all. So, what I'm planning on doing is unifying all of their usefulness into a special mechanic. This mechanic I dub Elemental Terrain. What I'm going to basically be doing with this system is making Geo Constructs function similarly to Anemo tornadoes, whatever the heck Anemo abilities are, that can get infused. This will reinforce the purpose of Geo being the buff and defensive option, where Anemo is the debuff and offensive one, thanks to their signature artifact set descriptions being used in this way. I will also add an added effect to the Archaic Petra 4-piece bonus too. But you guys can maybe already see what I'm going with here. If not, don't worry, I'll make a visual for you. So, how I want this reworked Geo Construct effect to work, or this elemental terrain system, is it will function similar to Anemo abilities that linger off-field when they're infused and all that, so like Kazuha Burst, Venti Tornado, Sucrose Burst, all that stuff. So, using those same elements of Pyro, Cryo, Hydro, and Electro abilities on the Geo Constructs, it will infuse the element, giving an additional glowing effect. Only one Geo Construct that matches will give a small buff based on that element infused. With 2 Geo Constructs, this elemental buff will be larger and grant a little bit of elemental damage bonus to that imbued effect on 2 constructs within a 20-meter radius. Just in general, these are going to have a 20-meter radius. And for 3 Geo Constructs with this element will grant a larger damage bonus and elemental damage buff, and if there's a condition where there are no other elemental infusions present, it will additionally grant a Geo damage bonus. So basically, have your team be Geo and 1 element, and you could add an Anemo in there if you so choose. Just not any of the infusion elements. So, let's go into the effects that I would give for each of these infused constructs. For Pyro, 1 Pyro will give a simple 15% attack, 2 would give 20% attack and 25% Pyro damage bonus, and then 3 would give 30% attack, 50% Pyro damage bonus, and Geo damage by 25%. Moving on to Cryo, crit rate would increase by 8%, with 2 Cryo, crit rate would increase by 10% and crit damage by 20%, with a cryo damage bonus of 25. Then for 3 full Geo Constructs on cryo, it would be 16% crit rate, 30% crit damage, 50% cryo damage bonus, and Geo damage by 25%. Crazy, I know. Then we move on to Electro, with 8% attack speed for 1. For 2, we'll have 10% attack speed with an added 20% energy recharge and 25% electro damage bonus. Then for 3, it's 16% attack speed, 30% energy recharge, and 50% electro damage bonus with 25% geo damage bonus. Then finally, with 1 Hydro, it's HP by 20%, 2 is HP by 30% and 25% Hydro damage bonus. For 3, it's a whopping 40% HP and 50% Hydro damage bonus with 25% Geo damage bonus as usual. So this means that Geo can be a mono buffer for a single element, while Anemo can be focused on its multi-swirl. This of course means you can run an Anemo in this team and even a Dendro for those Electro teams. It just means you have to have no other infused elements that mess with your Geo Constructs to gain the full effects. Which the Geo one really isn't that necessary, but still you can get at least 3 of all of the pillars, or the constructs. They're not all gonna be Zhongli. So speaking of Zhongli, here are all the Geo Constructs that can be used with this, just so you know. Zhongli's Dongli, Ningguang's Gate, Albedo's Blossom, Geo Traveler's Meteors, and Ito's Ushi. If you guys didn't know, he does count as a Geo Construct. Don't forget about that little man. This means you can use this new feature in Geo teams by buffing your main elemental damager. Gosh, this'll make Linny even more disgusting in a mono pyro team. But that's the point. It properly puts Geo in the spotlight instead of just Anemo taking all the credit. But that's not all. I will add an additional effect to the 4-piece Petra artifact, but it's going to be very slight, so don't worry about it. But first, can you guys think of maybe one of the issues with this setup? You need 3 Geo Constructs to set this up fully. Huh. That means you need 3 Geo characters, unless you have C1 Zhongli or are using Geo Traveler to make this mono singular element, like Linny for example, function. That sounds kinda rigid, and I hope you didn't leave that in the comments, so delete that shit. What the Archaic Petra set does is it will add an additional 1+ effect to the fused construct, or infused construct, which means that each construct will count as +2 when infused, not just +1. So this is great for buffing multiple elements if you'd like, and alleviates the 3 Geo Construct maximum to achieve with 3 Geo teammates. And of course you don't have to get Zhongli's C1, but it makes it actually a little bit better to get, you know. I always thought that constellation was bad, but now it's actually useful, funnily enough. And I didn't even mean to retroactively buff it, but I guess that also works. Going back to the restriction being lifted, if you had a team like Albedo, Zhongli, and your main Hu Tao DPS and Xingqiu being Vaporize, you wouldn't really lose much. You would just lose the geo damage bonus from having the additional element with Xingqiu. But what's cool about that team now is that with these effects, you can have one person, probably Zhongli or Albedo of course, using the Archaic Petra 4-piece, and then the other using a different set that buffs Hu Tao. And that means you can get the maximum 3 effect to buff Hu Tao's pyro damage by a crap ton. You can even do like 1 construct with Xingqiu being added with HP, and then 2 being added with attack from pyro, and then you gain pyro damage bonus from 2, and that will help you set up a really cool situation where you have an elemental terrain. There you go, that's where the name comes in. This makes it feel like you're playing chess with Geo Constructs. I've always thought that was what the intention was you were placing them around the battlefield, having Zhongli's Pillar resonate, having Geo Traveler have his burst pretty much trap enemies inside and count as an additional Geo Construct on each corner. I love that kind of gameplay, but it's not good. So instead, this is bringing the spirit of that gameplay in this actual, like, good format. Which, again, these infused constructs will have a buff field that will be 20 meters around the construct, and it'll allow you to mix and match for any sort of desirable effects you like. And, you know, if you feel like it, you could just unga bunga go crazy with however many elements you want for however many buffs you want. It really doesn't matter. But it is focusing on a single character to buff, single element that is infused. There is a thought though. I don't know if I would make these activate by having them crystallize. It could be easier and it could be more annoying. I do say that when a Geo Construct is on the field, it will not change its element just like the Anemo ones. So you can replace them easier than Anemo stuff, and so that's a bonus. So yeah, I don't think I would put crystallize making it activate, so that you can actually control what element you infuse into the pillar, or sorry, I keep thinking of Zhongli, into the construct by simply just targeting it with an element. I guess finally I'll bring up an example of what a powerful mono pyro team with Linny would do, just so that it can bring out the strengths of Geo Constructs being a mono buffing mechanic with elemental terrain. So if you have the core of Linny, Zhongli, and Bennett, you have a choice of either using Dia for additional pyro and putting her on Millilith, Miss X if you want more pyro off-field damage, I'm not calling her by her name, Albedo if you need an additional construct, and maxing out said constructs if you have C1 Zhongli, might be better to use that, who knows. And then Kazuha for if you have a really cracked out Kazuha, especially if you have Freedom Sworn in C2, it could be really good for all of those pyro damage bonuses. But between Kazuha and added albedo, I don't know who I would choose more. I'm not entirely sure. I actually forgot about Geo Traveler, because he gives you roughly the amount of Geo Constructs that you need to get that threshold, and his burst on a high constellation allows you to get crit rate when inside, so that's really good for Linny. So, what do you think? Think some of the numbers could be tuned back, but keep the original idea at least? Let me know in the comments below. I didn't really take that much time balancing as much as I'd like, but I wanted it to feel strong enough that it felt impactful and fun by playing Geo Construct chess and making Geo characters have a better niche that isn't just clunky as Crystallize. And hopefully with something like this, they'll release Geo characters in the future that will always have Geo Constructs, with, you know, some exceptions, I guess, so that it can buff not just Geo characters, but also other elements, because I don't think Geo should just be limited to Geo. That is the whole idea that I wanted to make this video based on. So anyway, if you liked this video, give it a like. I love doing these kinds of theory videos and rework style videos among my other silly Genshin Impact stuff. So subscribe for more Genshin, Star Rail, and other nerdy stuff, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye yo!